Alright, hello everybody. This is First Lieutenant McCordite from Venom Company XO. Um, I'm making this video because I think it's going to help a lot of you work on your loadouts with the new loadout structure that we just announced for the company. I want to show you how versatile the weapons can be and kind of talk a little bit about the training range. So go to tutorial and you can do the training range at day or night. And we're going to hop in there. We're going to show you what the training range can do for you and how you can build your loadouts as a basic rifleman for the company. We'll talk about some of the other roles in other videos, I think, but I just want to start off by getting everybody kind of on the same page about what your capabilities are and how you can be the most effective rifleman in the squad. So you'll find that there is a single role in the firing range, and that's Range Master. It's a role that lets you have everything, and you have pretty much unlimited points. So you'll see down there at the bottom left, I have 30 points left to spend, even though I have a pretty full loadout here. Just know that if you look at this right-hand side, you can see how much it costs to do these loadouts. 20 points is the limit that you have for a cooperative match. So build your loadouts to support 20 points for co-op. I don't exactly know what the PvP numbers are, but you can make all these Range Master loadouts you want. And that means you can build a loadout that is a bastardization of a Advisor, Grenadier, whatnot. Unfortunately, they don't tell you what each role has available, so you'd have to go rebuild your loadouts in the main menu to make sure that you didn't make something that's incompatible. For example, this M16 here has a 4x1 LCAN on it. In the firing range, you can actually put on these slick low variable zoom optics, and unfortunately they don't let us use these in co-op for the M16, so it's really unfortunate because I got really excited. I was like, wait a minute, did they patch this? But that's not true. So you can't equip the 6x3 sights in co-op, so don't even equip them here. And there's other things, but you can see on the left I can equip any gun in the game in the Range Master loadout. So I recommend kind of looking at what your available options are in the main menu and then coming to the Range Master to try to build the best thing you can for what you want it to do. Now, I'm going to walk through the two primary weapons, the M16A4 and the M4A1 for the Rifleman build as a basic rifleman in the company. And I'll tell you what your options are. I also have the Tariq sidearm, which is available to everybody at the lowest rank. And our requirements are going to be to have light armor and at least one frag grenade. That is the minimum requirements for your loadouts. Now, you don't have to have a sidearm, but I find it really helpful since we are allowed to bring the Tariq to have a 1-point sidearm that's got 8 bullets as a nice backup. And you'll find that there are a lot of builds that you run out of points with, especially at the M16. You don't need to spend all the points in the M16 to make it super viable, although you can. So the M16 versus the M4, you'll see here that I have a pretty nice M16, and we'll scroll down to the M4 to see the differences. The biggest difference is the M16 has slightly higher vertical recoil than the M4, and right now I've got my attachments are affecting my ability to demonstrate this. So I've got a clean gun here, and you can see if I pick the M16, I have lower vertical recoil than the M4. So that's one major benefit the M16 has, besides just the sheer 3 points extra you have to spend on the M4A1. So if you look here, the M4 has a much higher fire rate, obviously, because you can put it in full auto. And that's really the only thing it has going for it. I personally believe the M16 is far superior than the M4 for the point cost. But obviously there's the coolness factor of having the M4 versus the M16, and you know, you can probably kit it out to be a little bit better for CQB in some ways. There's another benefit the M16 has over the M4. You can equip a bipod on it. Now you can equip a recoil pod on the M4, but this bipod is quite unique to the M16, and look what it does to my recoil. It drops it down drastically. Now I don't know if this is actually functioning when you're not deploying it, but I think that it's actually functioning when you're not deploying it as well. So I could be wrong about this, but the reason I say that is because if I equip a recoil grip, you'll see I have a 719 recoil on the right. And then if I go down and I look at the recoil grip pod, it says 4. So I don't know if that's when it's deployed or not. Could be when it's deployed, it drops the recoil down, so it's kind of misleading. But nevertheless, I think it's super helpful to have a bipod on the M16 on a lot of maps. Now you can get rid of the bipod and make something completely different and have a very viable weapon. For example, I can drop the extended mag on my Tariq, and I can go down to my bipod and I can put on a recoil grip, and now I have a fairly accurate weapon at long range and decently accurate at short range. I could even delete the laser sight and swap out for a point shooting grip. And now I've got a very different kind of performing weapon. Then I can also drop off the optic to a 1x2 because, you know, in this game it's often difficult to find a reason to use the 4x optic in some scenarios when you're just running and gunning as a rifleman most specifically. But you can see I've got a very different weapon here that the reason I put a compensator on is because the point shooting grip increases your recoil by quite a bit. You see it's all the way up to 9, and with the bipod it was down to 4. So I put a compensator on to offset the recoil, the horizontal recoil that the point shooting grip adds. I do this on my M4s a lot. Nevertheless, my favorite loadout is to pretty much run with a bipod in a lot of scenarios because I really like finding those long sight lines, and when I don't have those long sight lines, I don't think the weapon underperforms. Especially at close range, I find the laser sight is more than capable, and I'll talk more about the laser sight in particular. And with the low cost of the M16, I can actually deck out a pretty decent sidearm. So if I'm in trouble or I feel like I've got to do a reload and I've got enemies nearby, I can just pull out the sidearm and I'm good to go. Also, I can carry 2 frag grenades, a light carrier, light armor, and a gas mask. I mean, the point cost is ridiculous. I urge everyone to pick up an M16 and play with it because it's quite good. I'm just gonna make sure I've restocked here with what I'm using. Let's do a short introduction to the firing range while we're here. It spawns you on farm, the map farm. You've got all the weapons on the table. You can just walk up and pick them up. They have no attachments, but you can also infinitely resupply and grab mags. There's 2 laptops, one down there and one at the top of the stairs you just saw. Those laptops allow you to spawn a techie, helicopter, or an enemy squad. We're not going to do that just yet, but I just want to show you all the different weapons. These tables are really helpful to pick up grenades and rockets very quickly, or just try out different sidearms. But obviously nothing has attachments, so it's not as fun to just pick something up out of nowhere. And I don't know why there's a symbol back there on the map, Delta, because I never saw a computer. These objective markers are really stupid and misleading, and I don't actually understand. There's probably something more you can do at the firing range, or they didn't actually put more effort into making it more viable, but all I've found is that there's an observer here if you want to call in stuff as a commander and try things out. That's really helpful. You just have to equip the, sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I want to go to the box. If you just want to like call stuff out as a commander, you can go down and equip this fire support icon. I don't know what the difference is. I think one is insurgents and one is security.
Green to green, Bill, let's go.
But nevertheless, we're in the firing range. You've got all kinds of little targets here you can shoot at. Cans, bottles, paper targets. By the way, if no one knows, you can hit down on the D-pad and you can stow your bipod. So now when I come up here, it's not going to pull up. It's super helpful when you're about to breach a building or do some CQB work to just stow your bipod so that it doesn't get caught in any windows you're walking by or any boxes. And maybe if you're just trying to plate check something or face check it, you don't want to equip your bipod. You want to be a little more concealed, because if I'm here, I want to just peek over this thing and take shots. I don't want to equip my bipod, but if I bring out the bipod, they automatically raise up and I'm exposed. Just a pro tip. So once again, there's these targets. Really helpful to practice your speed training of getting on target. Obviously, you'll shoot in between those little targets, and if you hit all of them, I think, in order, fast enough, it makes a little chime. Might have to hit them twice. Maybe bullseyes count, but there's like a little chime that happens. It kind of help you your speed shooting a little bit. But yeah, I find it super helpful to do hip fire drills here, ADS drills, and try to see your accuracy. Also, make sure you hold R1 and you will, slow your breath so you can have much more controlled recoil and bursts. And people forget to do that. In this game, I find the AI will shoot around you more times than not, and sometimes when the AI is beyond 20 meters, it's way better to take a moment and get a headshot on them than it is to just like spray and pray. So definitely practice your shooting drills here by hitting those targets on the bottom and just going through them all. Spraying into these paper targets one by one. I find this little guy is helpful. He's so small and difficult to see that getting on target on that one's helpful. You've got some long range targets out here that help increase your burst at long range, help you keep on target for a vertical man that's standing out there. But you just saw how I try to control the bursts standing with M16 with the bipod. Look how easy it is to stay on target with the bipod. And that's why people should not sleep on this attachment and this weapon. You can't equip a bipod on M4. A recoil pod costs 4 points. It's just not worth it. I strongly recommend trying out the bipod, especially on maps like Crossing, Hillside, Farm even. These are like great maps, and you can switch that out midway too. Don't forget. I prefer the LCAN 1x4 over the ACOG 1x4 because the sight picture on the LCAN's 1x sight is way nicer, even though I find the sight picture on the ACOG to be better than the I forget what this thing's called. The Su 230. You'll see the sight picture on the ACOG is much worse. You've got the squared off sight with an arch in the middle. And then if you look at the ACOG, that's got a really nice arrow. Let me turn off my laser. This is really nice to get headshots. I mean, you just get that arrow anywhere near their neck and they drop. So I do like that red ACOG much more, which we'll talk more about that usage in the M4 when I talk about my loadouts there. Let me put back my LCAN on, please. Thank you. There we go. So there's some things you can do here with regards to shooting drills. I already talked about the non-living targets, and there's some dumb little things that'll make noise or blow up on you here, like this fire extinguisher, I believe, blows up. But that's not as fun as shooting live targets. So if you hit triangle on the computer and you bring your cursor up and you fire your weapon, it will spawn an enemy squad. Now, unfortunately, it's pretty dumb, and it just spawns them pretty much at the same place, but you can see them coming over that ridge line here. So we're going to engage them and drop them. I'll show you how hard this is. I don't see him. Does anyone see this guy? Deploy him. I'm gonna stow my bipod so I can take those sneaky shots.
I'm reloading.
Aim is not on point right now. And that's one downside of the bipod is I should probably be redeploying the bipod at this point and keep it deployed and engage the targets much quicker. You can see it'll actually show that the spawn enemy squad is now like gray. You can't actually do it. And that's because either there's people still going or it just wants you to know that it's used up. Now I don't know if like you clear all these things if you fall back to a different point or something. I don't know, but you can just reset enemies and then it'll let you spawn another squad. So we're gonna do that. I'm gonna post up the bipod. This is how I normally would be if I'm getting ready for a defense, right? So now we're gonna engage these targets. Much better aim. Don't have to reload. Hello, sneaky. Low on ammo. No enemies. Loading. I was trying to lead him in case he moved left, but he decided to turn, so I went for the headshot. Okay. No enemies right now. I'm just gonna reset so we can kind of talk about it. Yeah, so that's one drill you can do is set up here, get some long range shots, try out the different attachments. That was the bipod. Show you how I do if I equip a recoil grip, which costs 1 extra point, so I got rid of my extended mags on my sidearm. That should hopefully make my weapon a bit more powerful and versatile. If you want to keep that extended mag, you can actually put on a 1x2 sight or something. I find the red dot sight is really nice, but the thing you have to watch about the red dot sight is you'll see if I look down my 1x sight on the 1x4, I don't have a front sight post in my way. It's actually really nice and clean. If I go equip the 1x2, like say a hollow, it's probably everyone's favorite. If I equip a hollow on the 2x sight, I don't have a front sight post, but if I go to the 1x, you can see my front sight post is in the way. I really hate that on night maps. It's very difficult because you'll have a guy who's crouched or prone right in front of you while you're coming around a corner and you won't see him, especially coming inside a building. So I find it to be really bad for CQB to have a 1x sight with a front sight post and be clearing rooms like this, unless you're checking things out a little better. But that's just one big benefit of having the 1x4 sight, just so you know, over the 1x2. Even if you don't ever use the 4x, you get rid of the front side post because it's elevated. So just a pro tip. I have 32 points and I've only used 18. So that means I only have 2 points left for a normal co-op game. We already put the recoil grip on. So I have other options. If I wanted to, I could get rid of the 2x sight, just have a 1x, and put on a compensator. That will alleviate some of that horizontal recoil that comes with this weapon. I could keep the 1x2, get rid of the quick draw grip, and do the same thing. So let's do that. Let's deck out the M16 in a nice way. The recoil grip is pretty versatile, even against the bipod, because you are getting more recoil control when you're moving and when you're in different postures, not just when you're deployed or prone. So yeah, let's resupply with this guy.
I'm good.
And we'll see how we do with this. I know they always come from the same spot. I always try to just keep my reticle centered, and then when they come, I snap on. See, the less zoom, I actually have much better peripheral and can see them moving all the way across the map. But maybe my headshots aren't going to happen very well here. It'll take a bit more effort to get those headshots. I only have a couple bullets left. I'll take the shots and then reload.
Yo, hey, I'm loading up.
That was a good headshot. But yeah, this 2x sight is doing really well for me. Having that peripheral vision is really nice. I can't stress that enough. But on maps like Crossing and Hillside, you will probably suffer a bit more. If you don't have a marksman on your team, on your squad, you might let the your TL or your SL might let you kind of run an M16 marksman build. Kind of like these a little bit more, and let you hang back and provide a bit more Overwatch if for some reason you don't have a marksman or a gunner. Yeah, that could happen. If everybody is a private PV2, then you might need that Overwatch element still, and can convince someone. Or you would break up into fire teams and you spread out a bit more. You never know. But this is a pretty wild weapon that people are always sleeping on because they like the M4 so much. And I do think it looks cool. I think the weapon looks really good when you don't have that carry handle on it. Or even if you do have the carry handle, it's kind of cool. But let's talk about some other stuff. Let's move on. Everybody wants to talk about the M4. Let's do it. This is one build that I usually use. You'll notice I only have 2 attachments on my M4. The weapon itself is 5 points. I've got 3 points for an optic and 4 points for this point shooting grip. This grip lets me toggle between ADSing using my optic or using a laser kind of in a shoulder over the top position, and you'll see what I mean by that. But I didn't sacrifice anything for this build, really. I still have an M4 with an optic on it that can engage at long range, and you'll see how awesome the point shooting grip is. So it lets you kind of toggle up this laser, which is extremely helpful at night maps. I strongly recommend people try this out at night maps because this is the only way you can have both a laser and a flashlight on your weapon. So it's extremely powerful on night maps, and probably the only way I run things is with the point shooting grip and a flashlight. There's some cases where that doesn't occur, but nevertheless, the M4 is a very strong weapon, but its strengths only really lie in its fire rate and ability to go full auto, which I don't like doing with the point shooting grip anyway. Once again, because the point shooting grip raises your recoil, so you don't necessarily want to do that. If you just tap on single fire, you can actually stay on target pretty well, and you can have very strong bursts. So even at range, you can destroy targets. I'm going to demonstrate that now
Okay,
with
let's
just a
go.
point shooting grip and this long range optic, which I only really use for particular headshots when I'm holding my breath, as you can see. Holding my breath is the only real way I can use this optic while I have the point shooting grip on. Because if I don't hold my breath, and I'll show you, the weapon kicks like a mule. Yeah, that's just single fire, very slow. It's really hard to stay on target. Um, but I'm going to demonstrate how good the point shooting grip can be for all you like really good shots out there. Reset. Spawn enemy squad. I'm going to stay back here and I'm just going to engage with the point shooting grip at these guys. I mean, it's like being on a PC. Look at that. Stand up, bitch. Okay. Oh, and just so you know, you can hold your breath with the point shooting grip, and it does help. So, I may not be taking targets down that well because they're hiding behind this freaking van, right? So now if I wanted to, I could switch over and start engaging them with this optic. But I think I demonstrated how useful the point shooting grip is at engaging lateral moving targets and at keeping enemies sort of away
Reloading.
from you because you have this amazing peripheral vision. It's just so easy. And one thing you can do is I can hold this angle with this point shooting grip, right? And then as soon as I see a guy at long range, I can snap on, toggle my sight, snap on, and then snap off. And the benefit is that I never have to like recenter my weapon because I have this laser sight that's always doing it. I know exactly where it's pointing before I even switch to my my optic. So, point shooting grip is awesome.
Okay.
One downside is though that the the grip causes you to move a little bit slower. Now, crossing this room, it takes longer to use the point shooting grip to make it there. So they kind of split the difference on um, your ADS speed between when you have the point shooting grip and an optic. So if I just walk across the room, I move a lot faster, right? Um, but I don't have a laser sight out, right? So let's talk a bit about CQB now. Um, you know what? Let's wait on CQB. Let's keep, what the fuck? I'm gonna toss frag.
Frag out! Frag out!
I think he tried to pick it up. Bitch.
All right, I'm good.
All right, so just to finish off the M4, I have this other build here that is called my CQB build, and we'll talk about why this is my quote-unquote CQB build. But I just wanted to demonstrate that you can still build a really nice M4 that's very capable. I just think the M16 is far superior. Now, this M4 has similar bells and whistles. You could try to get rid of some of this stuff and put on a compensator. I don't think it's necessary. Um, I think the weapon performs just fine without the compensator, but if you had to, you could get rid of the flashbang, but I wouldn't do it on a CQB build if your entire job is to breach and clear rooms. So for
Bring the
this
green
one, I
guy.
have
Let's
the
go.
1x2 sight. I could just go a 1x sight, but it's so cheap, and the 2x really does give you a lot of benefits. So we could build it more like this, where we have a 1x sight, and I say get rid of either get rid of the sidearm completely and put on a compensator, or keep the sidearm and get like an extended mags on it, right? With the quick draw grip. But let's do this for now, just to demonstrate some CQB basics. So now we've talked about weapons. We talked about the M4. We talked about the M16 and why they're both awesome and how they're very powerful and useful. Let's talk about how we can use them to the best of our abilities in close quarters combat and the attachments that you might find to help you do this. First off, we mentioned that the point shooting grip makes you move slower, and you see here my laser sight is just always up when I'm not ADS'd. That is a major benefit when you are point man specifically to breach rooms. So breachers out there, future breachers, and point men should strongly consider running a laser sight over a point shooting grip so you get the hell out of the fatal funnel. So you can move much quicker and just hip fire your enemies than if you were, ADS'd and moving, or using your point shooting grip and moving. I think hip fire in this game is unbelievably good. I think people sleep on it too much. I can line up shots with this laser sight and still manage to get good hip fire, right? So please don't sleep on hip fire, especially in close quarters combat, especially when you're just breaching a room and dealing with guys. Hip firing is amazing in Insurgency. Don't think it's not. Now, if you've got a guy right in front of you and you're gonna blast him down, obviously I would rather hip fire from 5 to 10 meters. Something closer to this. I can hip fire a guy and end his life, right, without missing, and keeping bullets on target. So I could shoot like 3 bullets and he'd be down. So practice your hip firing at these targets here. Don't get in that muscle memory of breaching and clearing with hip fire. Because if I'm moving like this, look at my sight picture. A guy could be prone on the ground, crouched, and I'm not going to hit him. I'm ADS, so I'm moving slower, so my team can't get in the room and help me out and clear my 6. Hip firing is going to be far superior in all those cases. I practice my CQB work solo sometimes when I'm trying to get a rhythm down, and one way you can do that is by always shooting at the corners of the room and engaging the corners, even if there's not a guy there. It helps train you on the most dangerous areas of the room and gets you into that muscle memory of hip firing. So we'll do a cross breach to the other side. When you're breaching a room like this, I think cross breaching a room like this, it's okay to take your first shots at that corner, because in this room the corners aren't as deep as they are in some of the buildings, and they're pretty spot on to engage. So it's kind of like how I start my training off, is seeing how fast I can engage those corners and putting multiple rounds downrange. Don't just shoot once. Don't even let them get a chance. The shooting at the corners helps you get that muscle memory of where the most dangerous areas in the room are. Obviously, I could sit here and I could just peek that corner and hold it, and you definitely would want to do that if your teammate is behind you, say, prepping the room, right? He's gonna frag that room.
I'm throwing a frag.
You would want to hold that corner for him, so that as he's pulling out a grenade, no one's gonna come out and shoot him. So he preps the room.
Throwing a flash.
You're holding this corner. You stand up, and you move, and you clear your corner. Point man, you can just do whatever you want. You could do a full, 180 and do a button hook or J hook, whatever you want to call it. I call it button hook. The reason I do a cross breach there is because 9 times out of 10 it's better to cross breach, and the reason is because my aim is already pointed towards the opposing angle over there. So it's much easier for me to get on target there than it is for me to do this. Right? And as I do that, I don't really have the time to engage that guy and then this guy before I get to that wall. Right? It's much harder because if I engage that guy, it's really clunky. So you're either forced to completely engage this guy first and then that guy, or you have to take it slower. Because by the time I get to this corner, I'm barely turning enough to engage a target in front of me, especially if he's much closer. So you almost can only just get in the room and have to stop and clear, let your guys come through and do their work if you're going to do that. So cross breach, cross breach, cross breach, unless you know that wall is clear and or it's a really shallow corner that you can clear, like say like for example this window. If this window was a little easier to see and you could clear that corner from for some reason, if this door was a little further over, whatever, cross breach is just much better. And by cross breach I mean you take the opposite wall from where you stacked. Okay, instead of button hooking. Obviously, someone's going to have to button hook and clear that. But if there's a guy here and there's a guy here at the same time, as point man, you're going to be able to deal with this guy easier than that guy. And you have an opportunity to deal with that guy and flip the room and cross over and engage.
Hey, I'm reloading.
And your third man, his job is going to come up the middle, probably hold this and shoot that. So probably checks that door and then checks the stairs and, you know, surveys the center of the room here for the most part. He's got a lot to cover here. He's got 2 windows, a door, and stairs. Good luck, third man. Fourth man comes in, does the same thing, but third man would obviously pick a wall as he's covering that center. And then fourth man comes in, picks the other wall, checks center, covers rear. Okay? So once again, we're going to talk about stacking, clearing the center fed room. Point man, he has situational awareness on the opposing corner. He's going to engage this corner first probably, and then that one if you've got a quick trigger finger. You'd probably quickly see no one's there as you're turning in, right? And you just engage this corner. As soon as you saw no one was here, you would immediately flip and cover the center of the room as you move to this desk here and held. And that helps your third man engage the stairs while you're holding these windows and doors, helps you take care of whoever just killed your buddy who tried to kill him on that the backside, and etc. That's first man's job, point man's job. Second man goes the opposite direction of point man. The point man is never wrong. Second man button hooks, clears that corner, engages that wall. We're going to do that again, much cleaner this time. Okay. If you're really good, you can do this. And then keep moving. But you don't want to sit in the doorway. Do not sit in the fatal funnel. Saw how I moved over? I'm not in the doorway. Third man can come in and go help out the point man. Fourth man can come in and back me up. Okay? Do not sit in the doorway. Yeah, that's second man's job. You need at least 2 people to breach and clear buildings safely, or try to. Third man's job is to follow point man, but third man would not check this corner unless the point man died for some reason. He would do what I did with the first man over there and cover center by getting on this wall, getting out of the doorway. Get out of the doorway. Get out of the fatal funnel, people. Get out. Hit fire so you don't move slow. Don't pie the room as a stack. Pie it as a solo operator, okay? If you're down to like the last man, you've got to clear buildings, then you can start pieing corners and being real sneaky and, you know, playing ring around the rosy. But right now, hit fire, get in there. Third man, cover center, get on the point man's wall. Fourth man, cover center, get on the second man's wall, checks rear and holds it. Holds rear. As fourth man, I went onto this wall because that's where second man went, right? But is this the best place to cover the rear? No. So I would probably wait till third man moves and then rotate over and cover these stairs, okay? Be smart, cover the angles correctly. This is the best place to hold the rear. And when I'm holding stairs and rear, I often do just hip fire because the amount of peripheral vision I have of somebody coming up the stairs, the ability for me to quickly strafe out of the way, is much more helpful than doing this. Okay, this is going to get you killed because as soon as he runs up the stairs and crosses here, you missed him, and now you're trying to like on aim and get him or wait for him to come in. But this way, I can engage him however I need to. You know, I can rotate around and strafe him if a guy runs up the stairs or, you know, God forbid, runs in. I can much easier deal with him with the laser sight and hip firing. So that's fourth man's job is cover the rear. Always, always cover the rear. And I wouldn't. I would be out here and somebody would say breach, 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 and then I would turn around and go do my job. Okay. Um, so that is a four-man stack. If there is no fourth man, it's third man's job to cover the rear. And that totally makes sense in this room as well. Third man comes in, checks center. Okay, center's good. Check the stairs a little bit. I'm going to cover the rear. What's first man going to do? The point man's going to come walk along here. He's going to see that he's got a problem. He's got stairs above him. There's no opening here, so he doesn't have to worry about that. He's going to flip, and he's going to check these stairs. He's going to stack up here waiting for his team to come engage those stairs. While second man clears his sector, he moves to cover this door, right? And he probably has to either beat the point man to the stairs and stack up, or he's going to hold this door for the most part and wait for the point man to stack on the stairs. Point man stacks on the stairs. Let's talk about stairs. There is no perfect way to clear stairs, in my opinion, in a lot of people's opinion. The best thing you can do is not watch the sector of the person in front of you. So as point man, I'm going to move up. This is clear. I'm going to watch that doorway as point man. Right? This is a bad stair example, mostly because it's a single doorway at the top. There's not a big landing you have to worry about. I think there's another staircase. I know, I think there's this staircase over at the final objective is a pretty good one, actually. Let's go look at that. Good on ammo. All right. We're going to talk about staircases over here. Okay, here's an interesting staircase. This layout is a 180 followed by a two-sided stair landing, right? So you have one, two sides on the stair landing. Point man is going to come up here. He's going to see this landing, and he will probably continue to turn and go forward. As point man, you probably want to just keep moving and take the stairs as best as you can. And second man's job, this is such a tricky one because in this case you have this pretty open side. The point man would probably check that first because as I get here, I'm pretty safe from the rear, but I can clear that from like about here, unless he's prone. So I can clear that and then move and clear this. So as second man, if I see the point man's watching that, you immediately turn around and back up to clear that landing. Watch what the man in front of you is doing. If the point man's turned all the way around, get up here and clear that landing before he gets in trouble. And if point man, if you're watching the rear as you move up, don't just get in the way of everybody else below you. Take the outside. Look where I am here. Can they shoot me? No. I can watch that rear while my team gets set on this spot here. I can shoot over my point man's head, right? So stay on the outside and clear your landings one by one as best you can. Second man has to watch what the point man's doing and anticipate that. Okay? Anticipate what the point man's doing, especially if he does this. Right? Then you know he's watching the rear, and it's your job to shoot over his head and clear that landing. If the point man does this, then he's already working on this side landing. As soon as he comes up, you need to turn around and cover his rear. Someone's probably going to die, but that's the best way you can approach the stairs. Another best way, fuck it. Grenades go through floors, by the way, so I don't recommend throwing frags above you, by the way. Sorry, flash. Yeah, that's stairs. That is breaching and clearing a room. There's different kinds of rooms. There's center fed, corner fed. For example, this is considered a corner fed room with really shitty doors because you can't go through them, or you have to go around them. So to stack on something like this, we have a corner fed room. If I'm on this side of the room and I see this wall, it's what's called a positive corner fed room. In that, as I approach the room, I know it's corner fed because this wall is here, so I don't have to go into some deep corner in that direction like we did in the other room. So I would do a button hook if I approach from this side because the most dangerous corner is on that side. If I approach from this side, let's say this is a long wall here and a room that's got a mid wall, I don't know that there's a solid wall here. Let's call it a negative corner fed room. And so my job would be to cross breach because I know there's deep corners over here. I know that this is dead space that I need to clear. I don't know about this. And it's whose job to figure that out? Second man's job, not the point man's job. Point man decided to cross and go straight. Second man decided to button hook. Oh, corner room, turn immediately and cover the point man and clear together. As a point man, I'd probably stop here and hold while I waited for my team to get in the room. Or I might take it slow and clear this sector, right? And then the second man would come in, follow us all the way around, and watch left. So we have kind of a T-junction, right? Once my point man's against that wall on that corner, and I'm up here, these barrels, we're going to switch. And I see stairs. I see this. I probably would go stack on the stairs while the third man comes in. He's coming in, he's holding this, likely. Point man's going around. And third man's going to follow point man. Fourth man's going to go check this and then cover rear if he has to. But this has a lot of rooms, a lot of external doors, so you're pretty much fucked until you get upstairs and get safe. That's some CQB talk for everyone. Hopefully that's helpful to you. We can keep talking about formations and best practices, but I might save that for another video. Just to make sure everyone understands sort of what you're supposed to be doing as a rifleman. Your job is to suppress the enemy and provide, assault and defend areas accordingly with your fire team. So your job is to look for enemies, call out the contacts, engage targets, and do it as safely and quickly as possible. And T-junctions, corridors, make sure you're doing cross coverage. Your team leads are going to call out cross coverage, or you need to cross as you're moving up an alley or something. So for example, we've got this open area here. We're going to move along this wall. If everybody's filed in a line and somebody shows up in front, it's the point man's job to deal with it, right? Because nobody else can if you're all in a single file line. But it's not a bad idea to cross and provide some cross coverage, especially on intersections and roadways. So if we're, for example, we're over here, it's a great idea for people to cross over and get control of the other side, right? While the other team moves up. as you enter these open areas, you'll find that watching the other side is going to be much more beneficial than watching just straight ahead, especially if you're second or third in a stack as you move along the road. Point man should probably always be watching straight, at least to some extent. So if you keep your peripheral vision straight as you move, then you can see if somebody's going to pop out in front of you or not, while maintaining, a good firing sector to cover the people on the other side, because they can't necessarily cover themselves, but they can also cover your front if their peripheral vision's to the side as well. And so everybody is covering everybody else. Take a pause, guys, when you're in a stack or you're in a squad or your team is just suppressing the enemy and laying fire down like this. We're all sitting here doing some shit. Take a pause and cover your guy's sector that he can't see. So if I got a guy who's crouched like this, dealing with a wall here, right? He goes black. Obviously, I'm going to step in and take his position and fire. But while he's sitting here engaging guys around this corner, you should not be doing this unless you're for sure this side is not dangerous. But here, this is fucking dangerous. People could come out of those doorways. People could come out of that garage or whatever that landing is up there, or around the back here, or even behind us. Sit here, take a step out, and watch this whole area with your hip. Then ADS and engage targets as they come out, because if they come out while your teammate's sitting here laying fire down, he's screwed unless you engage him. Right? And that's how you keep each other alive. Just, if you're not the person in front, you probably shouldn't always be shooting very often. You should probably be keeping your firing sector in some other direction to cover that guy. Because, hey man, he's probably going to die at some point. He's point man. He's first in, first to move. He doesn't have that long to live, probably. But you can extend his life and make, keep people alive by just covering their six, covering their flanks, even if it's just 45 degrees, 90 degrees offset. That's all I really want to talk about. One other tip, if you didn't know, you could overhand and underhand throw grenades. So I can overhand throw with the right trigger. I've prepped this grenade, but the pin is still in. If I pull the left trigger, I can pull the pin. I'm not going to do it because it's a flashbang and it'll blow up in my face. But holding the right trigger does an overhand throw. If I hold the left trigger, it will do an underhand throw, and I can pull the right trigger to pull the pin. So it's the opposite trigger to pull the pin. I'll pull the pin now. 1, 2, 3, over the wall. And you can see that's how you can toss a grenade immediately over a fence, or a wall, or even into a room. I'll show that again, and then we'll call it a video. Okay, you don't always have to overhand throw. Overhand throwing is good because it'll bounce the grenade further in the room. But you can still underhand throw if you want. It'll bounce just fine.
Frag out! Frag out!
Okay. I can do it with a flashbang too. Especially if I'm going to toss it in this room here and through the wall. I don't know if this will actually work.
Watch it!
Nope,
Flash out!
you can't flash through there. But yeah, underhand throwing, very helpful.
Let's go.
Especially with fences and
Wait, I'm
various
flashing it.
barriers. So yeah, train yourselves to, engage targets in, a CQB environment. Use the firing range to test weapons, test attachments, and various loadouts, and get very familiar with your weapons that you've got, guys. Because the more familiar you are, the better trained you are, the more effective you're going to be out there in the field. I want to thank you for your time. This is First Lieutenant McCordite signing off.